The road was empty, not the kind of empty that waits to be filled, but the kind that feels forgotten, like the world had moved on and left it behind. No footprints marked the dust. No tire tracks cut through the dirt. Just a long, winding stretch disappearing into heat and silence. And standing at its edge was a traveler who had already walked farther than most people ever dared. He didn't know when the road had begun. He only knew that every step behind him carried a version of himself he no longer recognized. Once he had traveled with purpose. Once he believed destinations mattered. But that belief had worn thin over time, rubbed away by unanswered questions and promises that led nowhere. The traveler adjusted the worn strap of his bag and stepped forward again. Each footfall echoed louder than it should have, as if the road itself was listening. The sun hovered above, unmoving, as though time had decided to rest. No birds flew overhead. No wind brushed his skin. The silence pressed in, not violent, not cruel, but patient. Waiting. As he walked, memories surfaced without invitation. Faces he once trusted. Words he once believed. Paths he chose because others told him they were right. He remembered how full those roads had been, crowded with voices, opinions, expectations. Everyone had advice. Everyone knew where he should go. Yet here he was, alone. At some point, he realized something unsettling. The road wasn't empty because no one traveled it. It was empty because most people turned back before truly stepping onto it. This road asked for something few were willing to give: certainty, comfort, the illusion of arrival. His legs ached, but not as much as his thoughts. Doubt crept in quietly. It always did. What if this road led nowhere? What if turning back was the smarter choice? At least behind him were familiar disappointments. Ahead lay only uncertainty. He stopped walking. The road stretched forward without response. It offered no sign, no reassurance, no promise. It didn't beg him to continue. It didn't warn him to stop. It simply existed. That was when he noticed it. A faint crack in the surface of the road, running straight down the center, like a scar. He knelt, tracing it with his fingers. The road wasn't abandoned. It was exhausted, worn thin by countless travelers who had come seeking answers and left carrying heavier questions. "How many failed here?" he whispered. The road didn't answer, but the silence deepened, as if acknowledging the weight of the question. He stood again, chest tight. For the first time, fear wasn't about danger or death. It was about meaning. If this road led nowhere, then what did all the walking mean? What did all the sacrifice mean? He took another step. And another. With every step, the road seemed to narrow, not physically, but emotionally. There was no room for pretending anymore. No space for false confidence. The road demanded honesty. Hours passed, or maybe days. Time had lost its grip. The traveler's thoughts stripped themselves bare. He no longer imagined what waited ahead. He no longer replayed the past. There was only movement and breath. Then the emptiness changed. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but subtly, like a held breath being released. He felt it before he saw it. The weight he had been carrying, not the bag, but the invisible burden of expectation, began to loosen. The need to arrive. The need to prove something. The need to be seen. The road didn't lead somewhere. The road was doing something to him. He realized then that the emptiness wasn't absence. It was space. Space without judgment. Space without noise. Space where nothing demanded he be anyone other than who he was in that moment. He laughed quietly, the sound strange in the stillness. All his life, he had feared being alone with himself. He filled his days with movement, with people, with goals, hoping silence wouldn't catch him. But here, on this empty road, silence had finally caught up. And it wasn't an enemy. It was a mirror. The traveler kept walking, no longer searching for signs, no longer asking the road for answers. His steps grew steadier, lighter. The emptiness around him no longer felt heavy. It felt intentional, as if the road had been waiting for him to stop asking where it led and start understanding why he was walking at all. The road did not change, but the traveler did. His pace slowed, not from exhaustion, but from awareness. Each step now felt deliberate, not driven by urgency, but guided by presence. The emptiness that once felt intimidating now felt honest. There was nothing here to distract him, nothing to hide behind. And that was when the road tested him one final time. Without warning, the ground ahead dipped sharply, forming a long downward stretch that vanished into shadow. No cliff, no danger, just a descent so deep that the bottom couldn't be seen. The traveler hesitated. Every instinct warned him. Descending meant surrendering control. It meant trusting that the road continued even when sight failed. Turning back would be easy, comfortable, sensible. He stood at the edge for a long time. Then he stepped forward. The descent was slow, heavy. The light faded with each step, replaced by cool stillness. His breathing echoed now, louder in the confined space. The road pressed closer, not threatening, but intimate. With the light gone, memories returned, but different ones this time. Not regrets, not failures, but moments he had ignored. Quiet strengths, times he had endured without recognition. Choices he made when no one was watching. He realized something profound. He had always measured progress by visibility, by applause, by milestones others could see. But the most important distance he had ever traveled was invisible, internal, silent. The road leveled out, and then slowly light returned. Not blinding, not sudden, just enough to see clearly again. Ahead, the road stretched onward, but it no longer felt empty. It felt complete. There was no city waiting, no gate, no reward. Just the road, continuing as it always had. And the traveler smiled, because now he understood. The road was never meant to give him answers. It was meant to take away the noise so he could hear his own. It was never about arrival. It was about alignment. He stopped walking, not because the journey was over, but because he no longer needed to rush through it. For the first time, the traveler felt whole without needing a destination to validate him. The emptiness had done its work. It had stripped him down to truth. He turned slightly, looking back at the long stretch behind him. It looked the same as before, silent, endless, unremarkable. But he knew better. That empty road had carried him through doubt, through fear, through self-confrontation. It had asked nothing and given everything. He faced forward again and continued walking, not chasing an end, not running from a past, but simply moving, present, grounded, awake. And as his figure grew smaller against the endless path, one truth remained clear. Some roads are empty not because they lead nowhere, but because they lead inward. And only those brave enough to walk alone ever discover where they truly end.